I'd like to talk a little bit about human-centered coaching, just for a few minutes, just to give you an insight into what I see this new approach to be. And it is quite different to a goal-centered approach. And I think it's really pertinent and really valuable right now. A lot of people use a lot of these techniques already. And I guess for some people, it's giving you permission to explore them a bit further and become very human-centered, very focused on the individual at a whole range of levels to enable some real positive change for them in the world that they inhabit. But sometimes the coaching profession actually stops us doing this. There are so many rules and barriers that come into common parlance. And I know it's a way of making sure that we are professional, that we are regulated, and that we are safe and doing a good job for our clients. But sometimes it inhibits us from actually bringing our full self into that coaching process. I'm sure lots of you have come across people saying, oh no, we only focus on the goal, we can't go beyond that. We only focus on the domain of work, we can't go beyond that. We mustn't give solutions, no, we can't do that. We mustn't get too close to the client, that wouldn't be appropriate. All of those things. And a lot of those things are put in place for good reason, but in now, when we're looking at a full human-centered approach, actually they inhibit us bringing all of ourselves into the coaching domain. And that's what I believe right now becomes really important, especially in a world where AI is coming to the fore. So if AI is coming to the fore, we need to be an antidote to that. We need to be able to dial up the humanness of ourselves so that we can actually bring better change and better alleviation of suffering to the people that we're working with. I don't know if any of you have even had a go at being coached by ChatGPT, but it is quite a good experience to do that because it's remarkably good. ChatGPT can come up with all sorts of solutions and all sorts of way of thinking, and even tries to be quite human in the way it comes across. But it's never going to quite be the same as a real human, and that's why I think we need to bring the real human into the coaching domain. So what is actually different about human-centered coaching? I mean, the main thing is we're using our head, our heart and our hands into the equation. And I think we need to do that in a really wholehearted approach where we try and get rid of the barriers, all the don'ts, and bring all the do's, and bring all our uniqueness as a coach to help the clients actually thrive and alleviate whatever's going on for them. I think it goes a bit deeper, you see, this human-centered approach. And I think that's where the miracle happens, where the magic happens, where we can make such a difference to the people that we're working with. I think, though, to do it well, you need to start with yourself. It's a real understanding and a deep understanding as the coach, what and how you tick, going beyond just the superficial and really understanding self, really being safe with yourself, really actually doing some work on yourself. That might even involve a little bit of therapeutic practice. I actually believe that that's really powerful for a coach to go through that for themselves, because that enables them to take a very pragmatic and a very understanding approach to themselves, to be kind to themselves so they can be kind to the people that they're working with. So there's 6 competencies that are all within this way of working. The first one is cognitive, and that's always been there. People are often in their heads. We're often in our heads as coaches, and our clients are often in their heads. It's where most people reside. But when we want to get beyond that, I think we need to move into the other competencies. So the second one is emotional. And again, we reside there quite happily. Often people are good with their emotional intelligence, but actually just a little bit more humanness is understanding those emotions a bit further and a bit deeper. Thinking about how they interact with people, how people interact with you, what happens when you don't like somebody, what happens if they trigger you, what happens if they trigger somebody else. It's working at a slightly deeper level than we would do normally, just around emotional intelligence. The third one is somatic. Now, I think that's probably the most powerful one, the one that we almost really should start with, not start with cognitive or emotional. We need to start with our bodies, and try and use our bodies to get ourselves out of a certain situation, and follow the lead that our bodies are telling us. Often the truth lies in our somatics. It might be about how we practice that. So it might be some ways that we learn to develop a deeper sense of our own self through our somatics, but actually that's where I would be starting. The third one is relational, so that links a lot of these things, but what are our relational competencies like? As a coach, they're often going to be quite good, but what are our coach and our clients going to be like? How do we actually really think about those relationships that happen between our client and other people, and how can we help people understand that? We can only help them understand it if we truly understand relationships ourselves. So relationship piece is really important. The next one is spiritual or community led, and I think that's looking at our wider purpose. So to start with, the coach looking at their wider purpose, looking at what their beliefs are, being able to interrogate all those things to really, truly understand them, to enable our clients to understand that wholeheartedly. And the final one is integrated. So if we've got all of those going on for ourselves as a coach, the client has got those all going on for themselves as well. And that's where the magic happens, in the thing that's happening in between. And that's active, that's not passive. Often we're told, thou shalt not be active as a coach. You need to be passive, you need to be the blank canvas. But what I'm saying, in a human-centered approach, you actually do need to be active. You need to be fully engaged. You need to be looking at the problem with shoulder by shoulder with your client. So we've got two pairs of eyes actually on that problem. And that will help us provide solutions, thinking of different ways of practice, actually getting in some really important development activity, which helps us move not just into a horizontal development activity, but a vertical development activity where we're helping the client move into a different way of being. And fundamentally, that's what I believe this type of coaching, the human-centered coaching, is all about, is actually helping people to be actually quite different. So if you're intrigued by this approach, if you want to hear a bit more about it, please track me down on our website, www.passe-partout.com, or give me an email, drop me an email. I would love to continue the conversation. Thank you for listening.